On today's show, because your kid can look dropped if all of a sudden, and then they can have resentment for your new partner, your new spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, because they think, well, they're replacing me. I'm being kicked out to the curb, and this, like, it's like a really bad breakup for a kid, and it's hard for them to process where do I belong.
It's a long time, right? Depends, especially how long they had that kid. If you got a 16-year-old son that you raised and you got them doing sports, this, that, and the other, and somebody say, you know what? Well, what about us? Well, hold on now. I got about 3 more critical years, and you want me to turn that off right now? Ain't happening.
We are Tristan and Michael. When we got married, we didn't really know what we were getting into. The busyness and challenges of a blended family, trying to figure out how to love an imperfect person, dealing with the ups and downs of becoming one, and everything that goes into having a successful relationship. Let's learn how to heal, how to forgive, and how to grow. This is Fused. Thank you for tuning in. We are Tristan and Michael, and you are listening to Fuse, transparent conversations for marriage, family, and relationships. We invite you to join us as we discuss perspectives that are thought about but not talked about. So tell your friends and family to check us out and connect with us on social media at Fuse Marriages, or join the conversation by emailing us at fusemarriages.com. All right. What's up?
No, you just looking at me. I made a little technical error, so you was like, what is he doing?
It's okay.
It's all good.
It's
we roll
all good.
with it.
Yeah, we roll.
We're adaptable.
We got to do that in life, man.
Yeah, we're adaptable.
But you could read my face.
Yeah. Can't stop the show because of a mistake.
Well, show can't. Yeah. In life, I'm telling you, these are life principles.
Absolutely.
All right, sir. So what is happening? What are we talking about today?
Well, today, I had my mind, I had this show topic I did, like, them kids, though.
Them kids, though.
Yeah, you got to say them kids, though.
Them kids, though. Right there.
No, I mean, like, honestly with you, I guess, break it down, guess what we're talking about. So, kids are an amazing blessing, y'all. Let's first get that first. We're not going to, like, just pin all of life problems on kids, but we're going to pin all life problems on kids. Kids are an amazing blessing. We love all our kids.
We sure do.
We love them to death.
We love them. We love y'all.
But there has to be some balance in that thing, right? Between your partner relationship and your kids relationship, and what the time and that's tough to do. That's real tough. So I'm like, what issues do kids cause in relationships, right? I think kids have the ability to break up a home. That sounds bad, because like, how can a kid break up a home?
Some of our listeners are like, no, kids, they can't. Yeah. That's the adults. We're gonna talk about it though.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about it a little bit.
Not saying kids are always the cause of breaking up a home, but they can be, right? Okay. It's something that maybe people don't look at. So that's why we're gonna talk about it, because it could be your home situation where it's not really y'all two that's going at it. It's the kids and what they bring, and the dynamics, how y'all handle and manage those kids, that are causing the house to be kind of divided.
Touchy stuff today.
Yeah.
Touchy. Okay, let's jump in.
Yeah.
So we talking about those kids, though. Them kids.
Yeah. So I think the first thing, we're going to talk about our singles first.
Okay.
Our single people. Our single people that have kids. Or potentially even go into a situation that somebody else has kids. But let's focus on the single parents that are looking to date and trying to, maneuver and really,
Yes.
They want that ultimate connection with somebody, but they have a kid.
Okay, no problem.
And what we've seen and kind of witnessed is that sometimes people with single kids, they pour everything into their kid.
Sure.
Right? It's just them and their kid, and which is nothing on the surface wrong with that. But what does that look like when you bring somebody else into the situation? So if I pour everything into my kid, I'm a single dad, which I have been, and then I get with somebody, or I'm interested in somebody, how do I switch that off? Right? Because I'm accustomed to pouring everything into my kid, and now my kid's used to getting that, right? Going to me, I'm doing everything. We're doing everything together. There's no other there's no balance in it, right? And ultimately, you want to be with somebody else. You trying to have a romantic relationship, trying to get married, whatever. And the problem comes in like, man, okay, I got this new person. They trying to figure out like where they fit in at.
Yeah, I think the key word that you just used was balance, having balance. So ensuring, I think, because I think what can happen when you're a single person and you know, we speak from a place of experience. So to those of you that are single, this is not to ridicule. This is just to hopefully open up your mind to think about it in a different way. So from our perspective, from our experience, you know, being able to have that sense of balance where they still get to be a kid, because there isn't anything wrong with investing. It's like, please invest in your children.
100%
you know,
agree.
please, you know, encourage them, spend time with them, ask how their homework is doing, help them with their homework. Some of my memories from childhood are my mom sitting with me and helping me do, you know, science projects, putting together solar systems, sewing costumes together, helping me. Like, I remember one time I had to make an old like, it's supposed to look like an old document. And, you know, we had to boil the tea and put it in tea and burn the edges and let it dry. And, you know, my mom would help me with my project. So being invested in your kids' things is really important.
Right.
So I don't want that to be like, well, then I just won't do anything. It's not an all for nothing thing. And it's fluid, you know, in some seasons they might need more hands-on. In some things it might be like, okay, you're doing great in your schoolwork. Let's get you doing more extracurricular. Let's kind of focus on some of that. Let's spend some quality time together. But that balance piece, what does that look like for your children? And then again, that depends on the age, you know, where they are in maturity and where they are chronologically. There are different things that, you know, a 6-year-old needs than a 17-year-old needs. There's a different way to parent. And we've, you know, been in both situations. So we get it and what that looks like and what that looks like for you. So if you are a single parent and you're trying to invest in your children, you're trying to pour into your children, nothing wrong with it. Keep it up. You're doing a great job. We appreciate the work that you are doing, because it's not easy to be a single mom or dad. It's not easy. Dads, y'all don't get a whole lot of credit because there are a lot of single dads out there. That's not easy. That's not easy. But we do want you to be able to be open when you get a relationship where you're not internally at war with yourself, because you don't know how to make that switch. You want to, but you can't do it because, well, I have to pour everything over here because this is my kid. They're going to still be your kid. They're still going to love you. You just have to make sure that you are taking care of you in all of this. So
Yeah.
that's my 2 cents.
No, I just think single parents have to be aware, right? There's nothing wrong. I think you said it right? There's nothing wrong with pouring yourself into your kid. It's just y'all two, or just whatever, how many kids you have. It's like that's what your world is at that moment. But as soon as you're interested in kind of opening up that world to another adult romantic relationship, like you got to think, okay, this is how I'm set up now. What is it going to look like to somebody that's going to come into it?
Right. Because your kid can look dropped if all of a sudden, and then they can have resentment for your new partner, your new spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, because they think, well, they're replacing me. I'm being kicked out to the curb, and this, like, it's like a really bad breakup for a kid, and it's hard for them to process, where do I belong now? Because my sense of purpose was it was me, and now it's an us thing, and I don't know how to do that. So if you're not preparing yourself and preparing your kid for the possibility of a future, and that looks different depending, again, on your kid, their age, their maturity level, but how you go about ensuring, hey, they feel secure, while also ensuring that you are open to the possibility of a relationship, another adult relationship, as you said. That's a major feat.
Yeah, you got to navigate that thing. I mean, I don't know any way around it outside of like, hey, if you don't have the insight or the foresight to think, okay, how I'm going to handle this when somebody else comes in, it's going to be problematic. I think it's an easy thing to fall into because nobody thinks like, okay, you know what, my kid's going to be the issue.
Yeah.
They're going to look and be jealous of the time I spend with my kids. Really not jealousy. It's just like they're trying to figure out where they fit in at. And like, well, you know what? Sometimes they get resentment. Like, man, okay, you giving all your time to your kid, and what about us? You know what I mean? So I just think you got to have the foresight, and then hopefully y'all can talk through it as a couple, saying, okay, here's how we're going to try to address it.
So what do you think about this? Because I've heard this before. What do you think? Well, my kid, that's my kid. They're my first priority. So you're getting in a relationship. You tell somebody, you know, he or she, well, my kid comes first. What do you think about that?
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
Because that's true statement. From like where they're at right then, they're telling you the truth. my kid is my first priority. And until you show me otherwise, or until we get to the level that we're on another side of that, my kid's gonna be my priority.
And how does that shift? How do you know, okay, this person is now going to be number one and my kid's going to move to a different
Yeah,
position?
I think once you say I do, because then that's permanent. I think prior to that, it's gonna be real. Like, hey, I didn't see. We watched the show when we were Deion Sanders and what's his Tracy Edmonds, and he was like, they wanted to show us. It's not on anymore, but
It's called The Playbook.
is what it's called.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Dion's Playbook or something like that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it was this scene where, you know what, his boys would come in and use his shower in his bedroom. Just kind of like normal. And Tracy's like, Edmonds was like, what they doing? He's like, no, they're my boys. That's what they can do that. And she was like, okay, but like really, his boys were his priority. I'm not sure if that's changed over time. I don't know, but like that's where they were at in that time. And I personally have a problem with that because it's like, man, they weren't married yet. They were dating. They were serious, but they hadn't crossed that threshold where, you know what, she was a priority. And that just happens.
See, I think a little bit differently about it, because I think that there has to be, now this can't happen if you're perpetually just dating people, you're trying to figure it out. It needs to be something that's very serious, very defined. It can't be like you haven't had that DTR conversation, the define the relationship conversation. You don't really know where it's going, but you hope and you pray and you think maybe possibly. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you are for real. This is the one. You're committed. You might not be married yet. This is a Tristan perspective, which Michael may disagree with. But my perspective is then you have to start making shifts. You have to start making slow but intentional shifts. And this is not something you necessarily need to articulate to your kid, but you just need to start, incorporating them in a different way, positioning them in a different way. And now I do not think that this should be cut off. Hey, this is what it is. This is my new dude. We gonna be together forever. Like, no, I think that is a really poor handling of a person, particularly a child, but making sure that they are slowly integrated in a different way, to make sure that your new potential spouse is integrated in a different way in terms of maybe taking over more responsibilities or positioning your child so that they can kind of not even fall back, but just fall into a new role. So I think that's a Tristan thing. We want to hear from y'all, because we kind of have a little bit of variation between how we see this thing. So if you're a single parent, single mom, single dad, please hit us up at Fused Marriages or email info@fusedmarriages.com, because we want to know how you handle these situations, how you handle dating, because what can't happen, and maybe you've experienced that, what can't happen is that you're consistently integrating new people into your life and your kid, because then what happens is your kid feels like they have to be responsible for you. Like they have to handle you because, okay, well, he left, he's no longer in the picture, or, she's not around anymore. So they're going back and forth between, okay, now it's me and my dad. Okay, now it's me and my dad, and okay, now it's me and my mom. Okay, now I got to look out for my mom because that dude left and she's crying or she's brokenhearted. So you have to be really timid about how many and who you bring and how close they get and what role, how you articulate who they are to your kids. Because our kids are aware at every age. Like they watching stuff. If you have little kids, they looking. If you have older kids, they looking. So just making sure, like, hey, you just can't consistently make the same mistake over and over and over and over, because you're not only causing yourself harm, but you're causing your kids harm. So we just got to be a little bit more aware as the adults.
Just going back on your point about the single parents. It's like I was thinking about like the reason why it's so hard for some single parents to kind of like you saying, when does that shift happen? Right? We talking about the Deion Sanders stuff, whatever, him and Tracy. Like just like, okay, hold on, why is he doing that? Mm-hmm. I think it's hard for single parents to make that shift. It's like this little person or big person is 13, 14, whatever the age is, doesn't matter. It's their kid. They're in their house. They're under 18, most likely. Is totally dependent on me. And you're telling me that you're going to be there for the long haul, regardless of who I am. And you don't know me yet completely. Mm-hmm. So if I act crazy and I leave my kid, say act crazy with us. Mm-hmm. And then I tell my kid like, hey, you take the back seat just a little bit. Now I didn't tell my kid to take the back seat and I committed here, and you leave or kind of go the other way. Mm-hmm. Like that's like, man, hold on. You gotta be able to process this. Okay, hold on. I can't just tell my kid I'm gonna take a step back. And I think that's what Dion did. There's a show called Put a Ring on It. There's a situation very similar where, you know, there's a gentleman, he has a son, he's 12 years old, wants the son to come live with him. The girl is like, I don't want that. She like, okay, that's my kid though. She like, well, out of that life, I'm not too sure if I want that. And in his mind, he's like, man, hold on, that's my kid. My kid's depending on me to be, you know, to help grow and nurture this, that, and the other. And a lot of parents will be like, man, how I'm going to give you everything or give you this position where I have this ultimate responsibility and you can't maneuver around it.
Yeah, because you know what you would do for your kid. And you want to believe that the other person would do the same thing that you would do, but you can't be sure. You know, it's like that. I think there's that element of fear. Like, I can't drop my kid. If you drop me, I'm going to cry about it, but you can't drop my kid. Yeah. And I think that's, you know, kind of what you're saying. Like, hey, I need to know that if we're arguing, you still going to take my daughter to school. You know, I need to know that, hey, if we're not seeing eye to eye, you're still going to prioritize my family, my children, because it's not, you know, you might have one or two or three, you know, it's that they matter so much to you. You want to believe that they matter also to your spouse or your soon to be or the person that you're dating. You really want to believe that. So I think that is definitely, if you're a single parent, you have to take a lot longer than somebody that might not yet have children. You have to take a lot longer to evaluate, a lot longer to kind of think about it. You cannot be emotionally like, anybody come and get me. You can't be so eager to be in a relationship that you make careless decisions, that you make mistakes that could really haunt not just you, but your babies, your children, you know, because they matter. And I'm not saying that you don't know that they matter, but they see a lot. They feel a lot. If they see you hurting, they recognize that, you know, and that happens when you are in more of a nuclear setting, they notice. So they're especially going to notice if it's been, you know, just you and the crew. If it's just been you guys, they're really going to notice like, you know, my dad doesn't seem as excited anymore. What's going on? Or my mom doesn't seem like she's very happy. And they're going to attribute that to that other person. So I definitely think that managing that relationship is really important, and recognizing your kids are your priority and making sure that they're okay too, but also that other person that's come in the picture for them to recognize, hey, these kids, I get this. I understand this. You can't marry anybody or hook up with anybody that's immature and does not understand that. If you're saying, hey, let me just throw this example out there. If you're saying these are my weekends with my child, you know, this is what I'm going to be doing on this weekend, every other, if that's your situation, or hey, this is how I have kids, you need to check those signs, how they respond when you have your child. Are they like, now are they monopolizing your phone? Are they calling you all the time? And while it's like, hey man, this is my weekend, I should be right here. Are they trying to like, hey, well, can't you drop them off? Can't we do this? Respect some boundaries. Take care of your children and recognize how they're going to behave in those early stages so that you're not later looking at the situation like, what happened?
Yeah. I can almost sum it up to me. It's pretty basic. It's like, it's not about really how a person, in my mind, how a person would treat a kid, but like, it's just me is saying, okay, are you going to be there? Like, I know I'm going to be a dad to that kid. I don't care what happened. But are you always going to be, you know what I mean? Are you going to be, are you going to be in the picture? I think that's the fear a lot of single parents have when we're talking about kids. Like, so that's why it's kind of like, okay, they get a new relationship. Now they're trying to like maneuver it, but like they're trying to wonder, okay, this person, they seem cool right now, but what about 2 years from now?
Yeah.
3 years from now?
Yeah.
And that's the tough switch. Like you said, when does that switch happen? Sometimes it's like, it takes a long time, right? Depends, especially how long they had that kid. If you got a 16-year-old son that you raise and you got him doing sports, this, that, and the other, and somebody say, you know what? Well, what about us? Well, hold on now. I got about 3 more critical years. And you want me to turn that off right now? Ain't happening. I'm telling you right now, as a dad, ain't happening.
I like when you feel it.
Yeah, it ain't happening. So you can get all mad, get frustrated, all you want. It ain't happening. And if he do that as a dad, he crazy. Because he gonna take, how you gonna just sacrifice everything up to that 16-year point and then say, I'm gonna put everything over here? Yeah. Just not.
Yeah. And I think that what you're saying is really invaluable because it talks from the position of somebody that's experienced this.
Oh, yeah.
It's talking from not only from a male perspective, but like, how do you handle your children? What is that? And it's not to say that this won't be challenging for both of you. You
Absolutely.
might want to be together, but managing like, okay, how do we manage the emotions of the kids? How do we manage our own emotions so that we're not being careless, that we're not kind of throwing caution to the wind? You can't afford it. There's too much at stake as a single parent. Another one that you mentioned is the other parent concept. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, no. The other parent concept is like, you know what, you have this, now we're talking about a 2-parent household where one of the other parent, at least one of the parents, is putting a lot of energy and time into the kids.
Yeah.
Whether it's PTA, whether it's schoolwork, whether it's making sure they got the right thing. Like, it's putting a lot of time and energy into the kids. At the neglect of the other spouse.
Yeah.
A spouse is like, man, golly. I mean, like little Mikey Jr., we get the big piece of the chicken. Like, what's up with that?
And you're the dad.
Yeah, and I'm the dad. like this, like it starts happening, like not I don't think on purpose, but all of a sudden now, like, okay, they get fed first. They get everything. This, you know what I mean? They come in, everything stops. You know what I mean? For them type mentality. And it's like, I think it's the shift. That's why kids can break up a home, right? The other parent looking like, man, the kids over here, they just kids. Let them be
because
kids.
You look at it like you, like the other adult lacks value. Because, you know, that's a real debate. Like, should the child get fed first? We're going to put this on. We're going to put a poll up. Like, should the child get fed first, or should the dad or mom or whoever, the adult, get fed first? But what you're kind of talking about, I think happens a lot. I think that's why you can see marriages that have been together, 20 years, and then but there's like this kind of growing resentment. Even people that have been together less time than that, but there's that growing resentment. And it's not that you don't care about your kids, but it's that you think that your partner doesn't care about you. It's like, hold on, you're not looking out for me. You're not spending time with me. Because it does start out so innocently. It starts out as, hey, I'm going to the PTA meetings, I'm dropping the kids off. There are things that need to happen. Like I'm taking care of the kids. Like they're not doing well in math, I'm sitting helping them with math. And then there's this huge argument that really happens because, well, I don't feel valued. Like, you're not spending no time with me. We're not hanging out. And there's this like schism. There's this separation that happens, and it grows and grows and grows because it becomes logistics. Like, hey, I'm doing what I have to do. You're being childish, or, you're not handling yourself. Well, what do you expect me to do? Well, like the kids got to eat. Well, they got to go here. And so you're really not hearing each other because one person is on the offense and one person is on the defense, and you're not coming to any, common ground. You're not willing to say, you know what, let me make a shift. I'm sorry you don't feel heard. I'm sorry you don't feel valued. Or the other person, hey, I'm not helping out. I should be more engaged, or whomever, feels a particular way. But I think that this happens so often where there is the breakup because of the kids, but it's not the kids' fault. It's your fault or the adult's fault because the other is not feeling cherished. The other is not feeling valued. And that can happen. Here's a quick example too, that if you have an argument and instead of focusing on the relationship and saying, okay, we need to work through this, then okay, well, I'm going here because Johnny's got a baseball game, and then, Sarah, she's got dance practice.
Done that before.
Yeah. So you start pouring into your kids versus pouring into your relationship versus saying, hey, Michael, Johnny's got a baseball game. Can we come back to this?
Yeah.
Can we talk about this tonight? And instead just walking out, being like, look, I got things to do. I don't have time for this.
To me, that's hiding though. That's not intention. That you hiding behind the situation. It could be work, it could be kids, it could be whatever.
Yeah.
But to me, that's different. But I said that does happen though when people hide behind the kids.
And it happens perpetually. It can happen over and over again. So you're not having the real conversations. You're not having legitimate conversations. You're not having the conversations that really need to happen so that you don't have all this underlying stuff underneath the carpet. I used to say to you, and I've said to other people, like, if you sweep all this stuff under the carpet, you can be tripping over it in a minute. There's only so much that can go under there before you have lumps in the carpet. And I used to say to Michael, in the early points of our marriage, when we were trying to figure out how to do conflict, it was like, man, there's so much stuff being swept under the carpet. I'm tripping over it. I'm breaking arms and legs because there's too much there. And if you are in a relationship where there's too much under the carpet, you're not dealing with things talk that out, pull that stuff out, pull back the carpet, go to counseling, sit down with a notebook, do what you got to do, because you cannot have a successful relationship and have all kinds of stuff swept under the carpet because you're not dealing, because the other person doesn't feel heard, because you're not valuing the relationship. You're investing in your kids, which you should. You're investing in your kids, but you're not investing in your marriage. And that too, that can, man, there's so much stuff that can happen there because there's so much pain that builds over time.
And I got a real practical example from a male point of view on what the other parent, it could be that resentment, this, that, and the other. This is from the male side.
Okay.
So we all know that women, when they have their sons, they love their sons. Like,
I love my son.
Love them to death. Like, see how she even look at that. Y'all can't. Y'all watching YouTube. Go look at the face. Go to that 20-something minute mark. Look at her face, and it's true. There's nothing wrong with that. She loves their son. You love your son.
I do.
And we talking about, when a woman pours into a kid, let's say, in this case, the son, most men, please forgive me like you forgive your son. Whatever how you hold stuff against your son and let it go, do me the same way. Right. And men, we look at that. We're looking like, oh, okay. So she can forgive. She can forget. Because she can go love him, pick him up, this, that, and the other, love him. You know what? I'm sorry. It's okay. I know your room messy. I didn't tell you 10 times. But you know what? You leave your drawers on the floor. Now it's like, oh my God. I can't believe you did this again. Like, I want that same love that you give your son. That same forgiveness, that same understanding that you give your son. And men looking like, man, hold on, man. She over here, she tripping. Now we drawing apart. Because now I got a data point to say, you know what? Oh, you can. Okay, you just doing me like that. You holding it against me. And a lot of men, we looking, you know what I mean? Like he's saying, like people pouring the kids. It just pouring looks different. To me, that's a real practical example from a woman's perspective. From a man's perspective of what women could do for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to process that because I think that's really interesting that men can compare themselves to a child, because women can too. Like, you all hugged up, you're like, hold on, you don't hold my hand. Like, your daughter will get in your lap. Well, when's the last time I said your lap? Like those kinds of things. So but looking at it even deeper than that, like recognizing that feeling of neglect, recognizing, like you said, dealing with forgiveness, dealing with like what is real love? What is that? Because sometimes it can get lost in a nuclear or blended or any of those families. It can get displaced. You can begin to feel like, okay, I'm just here for the activity. I'm here for sex, cleaning, cooking, dropping off kids, or like I'm here for work and no play and helping you do other stuff. So not feeling like the other person is really valued. One of the last points I want to bring up that you talked about really feeds into this, but the kids being so activity driven and that causing a wedge in the relationship. We kind of mentioned it a little bit when we're talking about the kids, but go into that a little bit.
No, it's just like, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that kids have access to, whether it's, sports or dance or whatever, school activities, you know what I mean? Church even, you know what I mean? Like, and all of a sudden that drives all the things that the family's doing. And if it's cool if everybody agrees with that, right? Both parents do. It comes uncool or not. It doesn't work when some parents like, I'm tired of doing this.
Okay, give me an example.
Yeah, you know what? Our kid is a basketball player.
Okay. And
we travel and go different places and do different things. And you know what I mean? We do that for like 4 or 5 years and he good and he like it. We call it, but I get to that 5th year as a parent. I'm like, man, I don't want them to play this summer. I don't want them to I don't want to go travel like that no more. And then it's like, what do you do with that? Yeah. Because now it's going to start, drawing a divide because the kids were the center.
Yeah, that's definitely a real conversation for some people. But, when you're talking about the kids' activities and being invested, making sure that you're having these conversations frequently and hearing the other person, like, okay, travel ball starts back up. How are we going to do it this year? do we want to do this year? And, depending on the age of the kid, and the conversation itself might change, but recognizing, okay, these are my values. We've talked before, and we talk about this when we do marriage counseling, is making sure that, you have your annual business meeting. This is one of the things that we say in premarital. This is one of the things we say in marriage. Our marital counseling is that you need to have a business meeting every year to touch in with the other person. Hey, how are we feeling about what it's looking like next year? Right. Are the things that we did this year, are they going to work again for next year? So this year, man, we did a whole lot of travel ball. Maybe we make some adjustments, or maybe we counter that with having a family vacation for a week, or maybe you take some time off and we have a staycation, or we didn't get a lot of one-on-one time because you were always doing this. What adjustments do we need to make? So I think making sure that we're having those conversations frequently is really going to be important, even as we're talking about the kids kind of taking over our world.
Absolutely.
Any other closing thoughts?
No. I think, you got to be just thinking about the situation that you're in, whether you're a single parent, whether you are somebody that's, 2-parent household. Just understand how kids can affect that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us, and make sure you connect with us on Facebook and Instagram. Check out our website for more content and resources, fusedmarriages.com. Let's talk about it.
You're listening to Fused with Tristan and Michael.